Tonight we're going in depth on a project that just launched right here at Fox 23, and it's ready for you to both listen and even watch right now. The FRIGID podcast is the first ever Fox 23 podcast this station has ever produced in its history. I sat down with my colleague and host Kaylie Cotten about this new project that hopes not just to tell the story of some violent crimes, but also to help out our neighbors who are still trying to find answers. It's unedited. Last month, we launched a new product here at Fox 23, a podcast featuring cold cases, and hosting it is our very own Kaylie Cotten. Thank you for joining me today.
Hi, absolutely. Anytime.
What got you so interested in this topic, in particular, cold cases?
You know, it's not something, fortunately, in my life that I've ever had to deal with, but obviously being in news, we do a lot of stories over cases like this. We do stories every day about tragedy, and I just got to thinking about all the people that are faced with the tragedy of a loved one disappearing or a loved one being harmed and then never getting answers. And it's different for somebody, versus, a crime that's committed and then it gets solved in a week. It's different for somebody who is dealing with it for 20 years, 10 years, And even though I haven't been faced with a tragedy like that, I just thought maybe this is my opportunity to help them in a way.
Let's talk about some of the cases you are featuring in season 1, just launched back in May, available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify.
Yes,
all right, yes.
Yeah.
What kind of cases could I expect out of season 1?
Yeah, absolutely. The first episode that we did was over Tina Brashear. She went missing in 2011, and essentially her brother, he was a deputy at the time, and we spoke to him, and his take was so interesting because he kind of discussed how before he got faced with tragedy, like I said before, everything was kind of just like a case number, right? It's a call that he's on. But being on the other side of that really opened his eyes, and he got to see that there's so many stories just like his sister's. And I mean, to this day, they don't know what happened to his sister. We also did another story recently over Daniel Kaylie. Kaylie went missing in June of 2022. He was meeting somebody by a lake for a job and disappeared, and his family haven't heard from him since. So these are horrible, heartbreaking cases of people that were here one day and were gone the next, and their family just want answers. And it's some of the most difficult cases to solve, is somebody just disappearing.
You know what I find interesting about this? I don't know if you watch Oxygen and things like that, those true crime shows. Everyone talks about stuff that happens in New York and California, but stuff happened here. Absolutely.
I mean, according to the World Population Review, Oklahoma is top 10 for the most missing persons cases that are unsolved. The National Missing and I can't even think of the word, NamUs, they actually did a report, and just in May there was 643 unsolved missing persons cases in the state. 112, I believe, give or take a few, unidentified persons. So we're talking 680 people that disappeared, a loved one reported it. I mean, these are just reported cases. So think of all the people that were never reported missing, that were reported, and it's still to this day unsolved. 112 people who were found, bodies found, that were never identified. So sometimes those cases can coincide, but we don't really know.
Is it hard for these folks to talk about this with you sometimes? I mean, obviously this has been their life for so long in some cases, but I imagine it's still not easy to, he or she is gone.
Definitely not. I think they find some comfort in being able to share their stories and share the struggles that they faced. But I do think it is difficult to recount that kind of trauma and that hurt that you've been facing for so long. But I will say that every single person that I've interviewed so far has been grateful for the opportunity because they just want help. And it makes me proud to be a part of that.
I was going to say, you've worked in news for a while, you write up the story, but then you see the face. I imagine it takes it to a different level.
Yes, I mean, it definitely makes me very emotional because I think in any kind of career where with us working on news, it's easy to kind of paint that picture as just a story. and you forget that there's real people on the other side of it. And it's something you have to remind yourself. And so, you know, we've done a lot of the stories that I've done interviews on for the podcast. We've done web stories on them. We've done investigative pieces. But to sit across from somebody who has went through this and to see the pain on their face and to see them thank me for just having a conversation with them is so eye-opening. And it makes me want to continue, because they deserve to find their loved ones, whether they believe they're out there somewhere and they're just lost, or they believe that they're no longer with us. But they just want to bring them home and have that peace of mind and let them rest.
What do you have still on the menu for this the rest of the season?
Yeah, absolutely. So our most recent story is over Dina Dean, the 1998 murder of the 16-year-old Dina Dean. We just did that one. We spoke to Tulsa County Sheriff's Office about that one. Most of the time we try to you know, speak to family, but if we don't have that opportunity. And then our next one up will be a 1981 murder, Gertrude Blakey. She was murdered here in Tulsa in the entryway of her home, and we spoke to her grandson.
Has it been hard finding those people all the way back to 81? And
you know, you would think so, but especially the people that have been dealing with this for so long, for decades, they are the ones that are really seeking out trying to speak to someone, because they've tried everything. They've tried everything in their arsenal. So this is just one more medium for them to get that message out there and to seek help.
All right, the Fox 23 Frigid podcast, you can get it where you get your podcast, and it is free. Yes,
absolutely,
it is free. All right, thank you, Kaylie.